नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदयान्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुरेत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, Verse 23. अर्थेन्द्रियराम सघोष्ठतृष्णया तत्सम्मतानाम् अपरिग्रहेण च विविक्तरुच्या परितोषात्मानि विना हरेरगुणपीयूषपानात्. Synonyms: Artha, riches; Indriya, senses; Arama, gratification; Saghoshti, with their companion; Atrasnaya, by reluctance; Tat, that; Sammatanam, since approved by them; Aparigrahena, by non-acceptance; Cha, also; Vivikta ruchya, disgusted taste; Paritoshe, happiness; Atmani, self; Vina, without; Hare, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead; Guna, qualities; Piyusha, nectar; Panat, drinking. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: one has to make progress in spiritual life by not associating with persons who are simply interested in sense gratification and making money. Not only such persons, but one who associates with such persons should be avoided. One should mold his life in such a way that he cannot live in peace without drinking the nectar of the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari. One can be thus elevated by being disgusted with the taste for sense enjoyment. Purport: in the material world, everyone is interested in money and sense gratification. The only objective is to earn as much money as possible and utilize it for satisfaction of the senses. Srila Sukadeva Goswami thus described the activities of the materialistic persons. Nidraya hriyate naktam vyavayena cha vavaya divacharthe haya rajan kutumba bharanena va. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.3. This is a typical example of materialistic persons. At night, they waste their time by sleeping more than 6 hours or by wasting time in sex indulgence. This is their occupation at night. And in the morning, they go to their office or business place just to earn money. As soon as there is some money, they become busy in purchasing things for their children and others. Such persons are never interested in understanding the values of life. What is God? What is the individual soul? What is its relationship with God, etc. Things are degraded to such an extent that those who are supposed to be religious are also at the present moment interested only in sense gratification. The number of materialistic persons in this age of Kali has increased more than in any other age. Therefore, persons who are interested in going back home, back to Godhead, should not only engage in the service of realized souls, but should give up the company of materialistic persons, whose only aim is to earn money and employ it in sense gratification. They should also not accept the objectives of the materialistic persons, namely money and sense gratification. Therefore, it is stated, Bhakti Pareshanubhavo Viraktir Anyatra Cha, Bhagavatam 11:242. To advance in devotional service, one should be uninterested in the materialistic way of life, that which is the subject matter of satisfaction for the devotees is of no interest to the non devotees. Simple negation or giving up the company of materialistic persons will not do. We must have engagements. Sometimes it is found that a person interested in spiritual advancement gives up the company of material society and goes to a secluded place as recommended for the yogis especially. But that will also not help a person in spiritual advancement. For in many instances, such yogis also fall down. As far as jnanis are concerned, generally they fall down without taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. The impersonalists or the voidists can simply avoid the positive material association. They cannot remain fixed in transcendence without being engaged in devotional service. The beginning of devotional service is to hear about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is recommended in this verse. Vina Hare Guna Piyusha Panat. One must drink the nectar of the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this means that one must be always engaged in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. It is the prime method for advancing in spiritual life. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommends this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. If one wants to make advancement in spiritual life, by great fortune, he may meet a bona fide spiritual master and from him learn about Krishna. By serving both the spiritual master and Krishna, he gets the seed of devotional service, Bhakti Lata Bija. And if he sows the seed within his heart and waters it by hearing and chanting, it grows into a luxurious Bhakti Lata or Bhakti creeper. The creeper is so strong that it penetrates the covering of the universe and reaches the spiritual world and continues to grow on until it reaches the spiritual world, sorry, until it reaches and takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Just as an ordinary creeper also grows on until it takes a solid shelter on a roof. Then it very steadily grows and produces the required fruit. The real cause of the growing of such fruit, which is here called the nectar of hearing, the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to water the creeper of devotional service by hearing and chanting. The purport is that one cannot live outside the society of devotees. One must live in the association of devotees, where there is constant chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord. The Krishna consciousness movement is started for this purpose, so that hundreds of ISKCON centers may give people a chance to hear and chant, to accept the spiritual master, and to disassociate themselves from persons who are materially interested. For in this way, one can make solid advancement in going back home, back to Godhead. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I humbly bow down and seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to purify myself, and please forgive me for any shortcomings. I have taken notes from a lecture by His Grace Jananivas Prabhu. Here we are told to give up three things. First, give up the association of persons who are attracted to sense gratification. Second, give up those who associate with such persons. And third, give up their objectives, the motivation that leads us to sense gratification. A materialistic person is attracted to money and sense gratification. Money means control. When you have money, then you can control the situation. Sense gratification is enjoyment. And that is Krishna's position. He is the controller and the enjoyer. It is a misfortune when a conditioned soul tries to imitate Krishna. This is an age old disease since time immemorial. All the philosophy in the Bhagavad Gita is for such fallen souls who want to control and enjoy and who don't fully surrender to Krishna. Prabhupada says anything you do that is not in the mood of surrendering to Krishna is a sin. So, what is the solution? To give up the association of materialistic persons and accept the association of saintly persons that are interested in surrendering to the will of Krishna. In reference, Prabhupada explains in Bhagavatam 11:42, a person who is eating not only becomes uninterested in other activities, but increasingly becomes uninterested in the food itself according to his satisfaction. On the other hand, although one who is experiencing the blissful personality of Godhead Krishna becomes uninterested in anything other than Krishna, his attachment to Krishna increases at every moment. Therefore, it is to be understood that the transcendental beauty and qualities of the Supreme Lord are not material, since one never becomes satiated by relishing the bliss of the Supreme Lord. The very pleasant analogy of a good meal is given. A hungry man, busily consuming a sumptuous plate of food, is not interested in anything else happening around him. In fact, he considers any other topic or activity a disturbance to his concentration on the delicious meal. Similarly, as one advances in Krishna consciousness, one considers anything unrelated to the devotional service of Krishna as an obnoxious disturbance. Just as a hungry materialistic man, upon seeing sumptuous food, immediately desires to put it in his mouth, an advanced devotee of Krishna, upon seeing a material object, immediately becomes eager to use it for the pleasure of Krishna. Because of a greedy person's obsession for money, he sees opportunity of acquiring wealth everywhere. If he goes to a forest, he will immediately consider whether it would be profitable to purchase the forest land and sell the trees to a paper mill. Similarly, if a lusty man goes to the same forest, he will look everywhere for beautiful women to rest. And if a devotee goes to the same forest, he will see Krishna there, knowing correctly that the entire forest, as well as the sky canopy above, is the inferior energy of the Lord. A pure devotee sees the transcendental form of the Lord within everything, since everything is an expansion of the Lord. We are expert in sense gratification. Now we have to use that expertise in satisfying Krishna's senses. Then in the purport, there is mention about the Gnanis and Yogis, that even after getting mukti, they generally fall down without being engaged in devotional service. Why? For example, someone gives you $1 million. You will become very happy. But if you just keep holding those $1 million, how can you be happy? It's just a bunch of paper that you are holding. You can't just hold the money. The real happiness comes when you spend it. Similarly, Gnanis and yogis, after achieving Brahma realization, they think they got happiness. But how long can you stay in that position? The soul must have activity. So they fall down from that position. But in Bhakti Yoga, we continue the activity. Whatever activity of devotional service we do now, we will continue in spiritual world. There is no change in the consciousness as it's the natural process. Devotional service is eternal. By serving the spiritual master and Krishna, the seed of devotional service can transform into a luscious bhakti lata. Prabhupada says, at the time of initiation, one gets a spiritual body and spiritual name. Krishna recognizes you by that spiritual name and body. For example, by chemical process and mixture of mercury, the bell metal can be transformed into gold. So, an ordinary metal can become very valuable metal. Similarly, by the process of initiation, the ordinary living entity can be transformed into a devotee. Prabhupada has given us this engagement in fulfilling the desires of Krishna. So when we get a spiritual body in Vrindavan, being an intimate associate of the gopis, exactly same consciousness is there, doing those activities that satisfy Krishna. I will stop here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa